Hello everybody, I'm PsychoSap and welcome back after a month-long break from Formula 1. It's time for round 14, the Belgian Grand Prix. Now Spa-Francorchamps is the longest circuit on the Formula 1 calendar. It is 7 kilometers long. It is a fun and fantastic circuit to drive, but it is one of the tracks to be renewed for the next season, which means it does not have a contract for next year. So let's see if the Belgian Grand Prix returns in 2023 for the next season. Of course, this will be announced at the end of October, so we'll get the full calendar. Now, going out on my first set of soft tires in the first hot lap, it was a good lap, but I did of course make a couple of errors in a couple of places. Now we can see that we just about make it to P3, which will of course fall all the way down to say around P8 or 9. So we're gonna have to pick up the pace for the next lap. So let's see if we can get a better position for tomorrow's start. Of course, we have a wet race tomorrow, so the setup of the car is slightly altered as well for today's quali. Now I'm sure a lot of you guys will be knowing that the Spa track has undergone a couple of changes around the track. We have a lot of new gravel traps. Of course, they have not been updated in the game, but we might be seeing it in next year's F1 game. So on my second lap out on a fresh set of softs, I'm about 5/10 up, and surprisingly I'm still P3, but when I cross the line that brings me up to P2, so that is a great starting position for tomorrow. Let's get ready for the race.
Based in the Ardennes countryside, Spa hosted its first Grand Prix back in 1925. This historic track is loved by our drivers and fans alike, so it's a warm welcome from the Belgium Grand Prix. Spa-Francorchamps is a 4.35-mile tour of the Ardennes countryside, with 9 rights and 10 lefts, giving us a grand total of 19 corners. Average lap speeds in the dry can reach about 145 miles per hour, but without a significant improvement in the conditions, we're not going to be seeing anything like that today. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, and Russell. Bottas, Leclerc, they've taken a grid penalty. Norris and Esteban Ocon. Gasly, Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, and Magnussen. Albon, Joe, Daniel Ricciardo, and Sebastian Vettel. Latifi and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? Well, it's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are 3 big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. And judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
Alright then, I had initially altered my setup for quali, so I had increased my tire pressures and a little bit less front wing. So I'm going to go and revert those changes and make sure the car is perfectly set up for the wet conditions. I'm expecting a good race here today. Also, with the introduction of F1 Manager 2022, there are a couple more video options, but those videos will be very difficult and long to edit. So I'm going to go ahead and not make videos for now, but we will think about it in the future, so stay tuned. Now, one issue I face a lot in wet tracks is tire temperatures, and I never really find the right way to get the tires warmed up on the formation lap. Anyway, so let's get going then for the Belgian Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go. We get a great start. We can see Charles Leclerc and the Ferrari popping out, trying to get some more positions. He is of course a little bit out of position today at the start. And we get Max Verstappen right there at the start, but we go a lot wide. And he has the chance to instantly come back, but he doesn't make it. With a little bit of ERS deployment, we stay ahead. But let's see what goes through. Rouge and Radion We of course go a little bit wider. Again, the lift and coast technique was not used, definitely by me, and Max Verstappen cruises past. There's literally nothing I can do because my overall top speed is less. Now we see a little bit of a collision here towards Eau Rouge then between the Ferrari and the Alpine and AlphaTauri. So let's take a quick look then. Yeah, so Charles Leclerc nearly avoided a collision there with Esteban Ocon, but that was a good save. Let's see. Lando Norris has been quite charged up and he's making quite a few positions here. This is against George Russell, of course, but he loses the traction out of the corner. He goes for a little bit of a drift. Now Max Verstappen's also been doing this a lot, but I somehow have not been able to keep up the pace with Max Verstappen. So getting closer to Max Verstappen is looking a little bit difficult at the moment. Daniel Ricciardo is also making a couple of positions against the back markers, the Hasses and the Alfa Romeos. It's interesting to see what he has in future for next season. There we have a spin from Mick Schumacher. That's a safety car then. Wow, I didn't expect to have a safety car with that situation. But we're gonna go ahead and skip the safety car period. And here's the restart then. We're getting a little bit too close to Max Verstappen, trying to get all the traction to the last corner. And we're going to go ahead and use that slipstream in the wet conditions. You can see how foggy it is from the cockpit view as well. It was very, very unclear at moments. But we do get Max Verstappen right there at turn 1 then. Now let's see if Max Verstappen can get across again. Last time around at Radion, he had actually a better exit to these corners and he made a move. But this time, with a lot more ERS deployment, I will try to keep him behind. But he does then pull out alongside. Let's see if we can keep him slightly wider through this corner, being on the inside. But he does kind of get a better traction. But he loses traction in these corners for being on the inner line. So now I'm still able to maintain that position ahead, and he makes a mistake that he almost goes off for a drift, and he does again make a collision. We touch and bump tires there. Wow. This part of the track is my weakest. I actually make a lot of mistakes, go wide or go short through these corners, but this time around I was able to keep Max Verstappen behind, and we can see him gaining again on lap 9. And I have been making a lot more mistakes, and there we go again. I go wide, but we're side by side through the last corner. Let's see who can get to turn 1 first. Max clearly had the better traction out of that corner, but a little bit of a switchback and push him wide, and there we go. We can maintain that first position. Let's go. Now of course for tomorrow's race, Max Verstappen will be out of position. We're really interested to see what we have in store for us at the Belgium GP. So there we go then. It's a Red Bull 1-2 on the F1 2022 calendar series. Round 14 guys, thanks so much for watching. It was a fantastic race, really lovely wet race. Of course I am quite strong in wet races, even though I do not like driving on wet tracks. So let's see what Spa has in store for it next year. It is of course every driver's most favorite track, and we'd love to see it in the season next year as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys had a great summer break and a return to Formula 1 for the rest of the half of the season. I'll see you guys again very soon for the Dutch Grand Prix next weekend. Until then, do like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.
And it's clear to see that they put in the work, and they should be so proud of the victory they secured.